street right in front of you. Ethan, he's getting away from you. You're gonna have to go faster.
Everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and continuing the lead up to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which is due for release on July the 12th, 2023, I will be taking a look back on all of the previous films within the Mission Impossible franchise, and you can check out my reviews of entries within the film series, and I'll leave some links within the description. So in this video we will focus on the spectacular 6th installment, Mission Impossible Fallout. Released on July the 27th, 2018, it has Tom Cruise once more reprising his role as IMF Agent Ethan Hunt, starring alongside other regulars such as Simon Pegg as Technician Benji, Ving Rhames as fellow Agent Luther, Rebecca Ferguson returns as MI16 Agent Elsa Faust, Alec Baldwin also returns as CIA Director Alan Huntley. Sean Harris also makes a second appearance as Solomon Lane, but we also get new additions with Henry Cavill, Angela Bassett and Vanessa Kirby, and the film was once more directed by Christopher McQuarrie. Now the story of Fallout catches up with Ethan Hunt and the IMF team assigned to track down an organisation known as the Apostles. This group was previously established as the Syndicate, which was the terrorist group that the IMF team came up against in Rogue Nation. Through their mysterious leader John Lark, the Apostles plan to use 3 cores of plutonium to help create 3 nuclear bombs. After the IMF failed to retrieve one of the cores, the CIA intervened to assign Agent Walker to assist the IMF team to regain the cores. The IMF are joined once more by MI6 agent Elsa Faust, who has to track down and kill the former Syndicate leader Solomon Lane. After various twists and turns, the IMF team find themselves in a frantic race against time to apprehend the Apostles group and stop them from unleashing the nuclear devices amongst the world. Now when looking back on Mission Impossible Fallout, both on its own and also part of the franchise, it remains a stellar piece of action entertainment. There's a real class and sophistication in terms of its look and cinematography and its editing. This is largely due to the fact that the majority of the movie is shot in location as opposed to CGI, so you get that real physicality with all of the sequences. Now in comparison to previous entries, Fallout is certainly a much more grounded and realistic approach than what we saw in the previous entries, with far more of the outlandish stunt work, certainly in both Mission Impossible 2, Mission Impossible 3 and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Christopher McQuarrie clearly adopts the same tone and aesthetic seen from the likes of Christopher Nolan and Sam Mendes in shooting large-scale whole-panning shots, really letting you as the viewer see the whole full landscape in action as it takes place across various locations. And it is fantastic to see, especially if you watch this movie on the big screen. And the movie itself has plenty of outstanding moments. We see the sequence where Hunt and Walker jump out of a plane amidst a lightning storm and Hunt has to rescue Walker. We have one of the most referred to scenes within this film, a brutal fight sequence of Hunt and Walker versus John Lark within the toilets. It's a real Bourne-esque encounter shot with the same type of intensity. We of course have that famous Henry Cavill moment where we see him repositioning his arms, getting ready for battle, and this moment has very much become an internet meme. Another memorable sequence sees Tom Cruise running like an absolute madman across rooftops and in the streets in pursuit of Walker. So awesome to see Cruise so energetic and still sprightly in this moment, and this sequence gained even more notoriety given the fact that Tom Cruise actually broke his leg whilst performing a jump over a rooftop. A great display of once again his overall commitment to these type of movies and the stunt work that he performs. I also have to mention Norm Balfe's wonderful musical score, all booming horns and operatic tones. I love the more mechanic themes and sequences, such as the visualised dreamlike trial run where we see Hunt and how he plans to apprehend Solomon Lane when he's working with Vanessa Kirby's broker. And I absolutely love the music as it plays in this scene where we see Ethan and Elsa walking through the streets to meet together once more, reflecting on the current situation, and this is perhaps the film's only attempt to hint at a stronger connection between these two characters. We then have to talk about the climax, a spectacular helicopter pursuit, and we get those wide shots, as I mentioned before, where we see Ethan crazily climbing up a rope into a helicopter and then proceeding to flight for the first time. It's truly awesome the way that this sequence is shot, and I think it just might be the best climax out of all of the franchise. It's certainly the most exciting. We then talk about the cast, and once more Tom Cruise is as energetic and sprite as ever, maintaining that aura of a true movie star, not only defying physics but also defying his age in years. However characterised as what we've seen in previous instalments, Ethan Hunt still remains very much of a blank cipher. We see that his wife Julia is brought in late in the story to try and include much more personal stakes, but it doesn't quite land and just feels thrown in there much more as a token gesture. Both Simon Pegg and Rebecca Ferguson are fine support once more, though Ilsa isn't quite as interesting as a character this time round. And whilst there's nothing wrong with having her in the story, I do ask whether she's as necessary in this particular role. Vanessa Kirby too is fine in a much more smaller participation, though I'm not completely convinced in a much more duplicitous role, shall we say, as the broker of rogue operations and also an associate with the CIA. It's always great to see Angela Bassett anytime, and she suits the role very much as the new CIA director, Erica Slane. But for me, and I think for a lot of fans, the real star turn here is Henry Cavill as August Walker. Criminally misused and underutilised by Warner Brothers as Superman, he convinces here by carrying a certain presence, a ruthless streak, and obviously a real physical stature. And whilst there's nothing too particularly deep in terms of his character, I think this was one of the few times that he proved what a potential movie star he could have been, showing a bit more range alongside his roles within The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and also within the Netflix series The Witcher. And I think it also showed that if you give this actor good material, then he certainly can project a certain star quality. His role in this movie also gained extra notoriety for the fact that he had to wear a moustache, which meant that when he went back for reshoots, Paramount insisted that he keep it, and this resulted of course in that horrible CGI transition that we got when we saw him returning as Superman in Joss Whedon's Justice League. So we then go on to the movie's overall release, and yet again it was another smash hit, grossing over $791.7 million from a $178 million budget, surpassing 2011's Ghost Protocol to become the highest grossing entry not only within the franchise but also within Tom Cruise's career, until Top Gun Maverick assumed that position in 2022. And Fallout's success further reasserted the Mission Impossible franchise as one of the most successful within all of movie history. And as superhero movies continue to dominate the mainstream, especially in 2018, Fallout was held in high regard for a throwback to the more traditional stunt-driven action movie. And when looking back at the movie, we asked the question as to whether it's the best Mission Impossible movie. It's definitely right up there, perhaps in a photo finish with Rogue Nation. Perhaps the only letdown being that we do get perhaps one or two overextended chase sequences, particularly the motorbike scene halfway through the film, and the team dynamic and much more inventiveness isn't quite there this time as what it was with Rogue Nation. This plays much more of a straightforward spy espionage thriller. But I will concede that the comparison between them both is very close, and I wouldn't find much cause to argue with anybody who deems Fallout as the best entry of the franchise. And of course, Fallout's success would instill further confidence in the franchise, leading up to the two further entries being released back to back, with Dead Reckoning Part 1 in 2023 and Dead Reckoning Part 2 following in 2024. And despite all of that, I think Mission Impossible Fallout still remains a high watermark within the franchise and still a very fine example of exciting and stunt-driven traditional blockbuster entertainment. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings and review of Mission Impossible Fallout. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Where do you think it ranks amongst the overall hierarchy of the Mission Impossible franchise? Do you have it right up there, or do you still believe that the likes of Rogue Nation and perhaps Mission Impossible 3 are still superior? Let me know what you think in the comments. And as I already mentioned, you can check out my previous reviews of other entries within the Mission Impossible franchise. So look out for those links. Again, I'll leave them within the description. And of course, having completed the previous set, I will shortly go on to review Dead Reckoning Part 1 when it releases on July the 12th, 2023. So look out for all of that great content within the future within the channel. And if you have any other further suggestions regarding any other movies or television series or any other topics that you'd like to see me cover within the entertainment and pop culture scene, then also let me know within the comments and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on those topics within the future. Please also hit and like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves and I will see you very, very soon.